I always wonder whether Violator came around at the perfect time for the band and the worst time for you. Because it was the album that outright needed you, I think. It was like those songs, all of a sudden, they were kind of there for a real front man to take and reach the 60,000th person at the back, right?
Well, it
was like Rockstar 101, that album.
We had done our apprenticeship, we'd paid our dues.
Yeah.
We're like 10 years in almost. 10 years in.
Yeah.
And, it really, it changed everything because we'd never sold that many records and played to that many people, and everything took off. So, everything, to say that everything didn't change or it would be a lie. Everything did change. The perception of the band, the pressure on Martin, the pressure on me as a front guy, everything changed around that time. And I think that's why probably when we went in to record Songs of Faith and Devotion with Flood producing, he was very, he was like, we have to make a completely different record. Try to take everything away from what we know as being Depeche Mode. What you guys and you're going to come back round. You start at 12 o'clock. You're going to go all the way round. You move away, but you're going to come back round at 12 o'clock anyway because that's who you are. But let's take a journey and try and do something really different. And I think we did. We managed to do that, which was unexpected, and also an incredibly difficult time for the band. Probably, we'd reached a point where, the wheels were starting to come off.
I think that we're at a point now in this particular conversation, the one we're having and the one that's been had for 50 years, where we try to understand the arts and the artists a little bit better and get inside the psychology and what motivates the expression, My first run for 20 years was just kind of talking about drum sounds because no one wanted to talk any deeper and I didn't have the tools to do it. But I think we're here now, and I think we can start to identify some really interesting subject matter, which for me, with you, is what is it from your experience and only your experience that finds a group of individuals who clearly care about each other and understand the value of what you have together in a situation where success, hard-earned, is finally here, and yet there is this self-destructive inclination?
It's human nature, our personalities are pretty similar in that way.
I mean, we'd done a lot of work, and I'm just going to go back to the Rose Bowl thing just for a second, just because I was talking to Daniel Miller about this recently. We were literally playing at the Bridge House, Canning Town, in 1981, and then 7 years later we're playing at the Rose Bowl, and in those years, we put an album out every year.
You know who else did that? The Beatles, and they broke up straight away.
Well,
afterwards.
And you understand why, because it was just, it become, it's like this monster that you didn't realize you were building, and suddenly the monster is controlling you. And, you have to, you don't know that at the time, though. You're just, it's a big whirlwind. And
is that how you felt as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the success of Violator obviously did put extra pressure on us. I felt like incredible pressure to come up with a bunch of songs that could match that with Songs of Faith and Devotion. And I think that, probably started me like drinking a bit more. And then Dave went down his own paths at that time. And also, maybe there's something about, I think there is this fallacy that we all have that drugs and drink make us more creative. It's very easy to fall into that trap.
It's a pattern that first it's to escape, first it's to sort of have fun or to have your own time. It's like, it's my time. Yeah. This is my stuff. This is what I do for myself now.
Control.
You can't come in. Yeah. My cosmos is mine.
My cosmos is mine.
Right. But of course it's self-destructive. There was always for me, with certain drugs, I wanted to feel, again, just the same thing, a part of something. So it enabled me to feel like I belonged to something, and then, until it didn't. And then you're just alone. you know. And I think it's the same thing, booze, drugs, whatever. You know, you reach a point where it's just you certainly can't get any more of it in your system without something terrible happening, and for those around you as well. But you know, there is a belief in the beginning. You know, I had the same thing. There was a sort of belief that there was part of the character I was creating.
There it is. It's that identity thing
You know,
again,
it's
right?
the
You know,
ident-
we
yeah,
start
it's
to build
like-
identities out of trauma, and it becomes a form of survival. And the next thing you know, we, with the best of intentions, are telling you we love you en masse, and that identity needs to be fed. And that I call it distraction by self-destruction, because you just kind of get away from what you've built in a way, man.
But that
right?
concept is terrifying too, I
Yeah.
think.
But I would also say there's an element of like you were talking about loving the Rolling Stones, the bad boy thing.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah.
I think we all fall into that trap as well, thinking that it's cool to be bad boys.
Yeah.
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 It was
Yeah,
the
here
cool
comes
part.
Basildon.
You know,
You're
it-
fucked now.
Yeah,
Here
but-
they come.
But
It
most
doesn't look
people
back-
aren't cut out for that either.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you that it's not easy playing that game,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and then to show up and with it all, and you can't do it after a while. In the end, you just don't show up anymore, and that's it.
It's interesting watching. I watched 2 performances of Never Let Me Down Again as part of a wider amount of music I was watching on the weekend, just getting so excited we were going to talk. I watched the one from Anton's movie, 93 maybe?
Songs of Faith and Devotion.
So you're-
tour?
so you're-
devotional.
Yeah, so according to the timeline, and you know better than I do,
Yeah.
you're in it. You're in it. and then I watched in 2009 in Barcelona.
Totally
And
different. Yeah.
They're totally different. The crowd's doing the same thing, but the way you respond to it, if I may say, is so different. In 1993, it was like you were holding on to the crowd for dear life. In 2009, you're letting go.
Yes, that's a good. I don't know when that happened, but I certainly couldn't hold on. It wasn't going to be enough for me to sustain what was happening around that time, end of 93, 94.
Yeah.
I couldn't hold that position anymore. So the wheels fell off. But you know, and then 2009, and those different. To me now, it's much more of a joyful celebration of us all coming together.
Yeah.
Instead of this like pained, you know, expression of
And the songs
of-
must
of
feel different to
emptiness.
you. The songs must feel different to you. That song
They
in
do,
particular.
they always change.
It must, when
They
you play
always
that
change.
now, it must be such a different
I
emotional.
love that song. I love performing that song. It doesn't get old to me. It changes all the time. And you're right. Songs change all the time depending what's going on in your life. And the more you experience in life, a good song will carry you through in different things, different times, emotions, feelings. It just memories. You know,
that's what
songs
they
are
are.
memories.
They
you know,
are. They are. And they become ours. And then I was saying to someone the other day, the impact that art has can't actually be quantified. And we've done a really good job of trying. And boy, has it become a numbers game. It's hard. It's really painful for me to think that my least favorite subject that I was worst at in school now drives the thing I love the most, which is math. I'm like, I fucking hate math. And yet I am in the math, right? But you can't quantify it, because I've lost count the amount of times that I've shared my Depeche Mode experiences with others who may or may not decide to share theirs, and so on and so on. It saves lives. It saved your life, really, probably, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's the music. It's in the music.
It's in the music.
Sometimes along the way, for me personally, it almost became too descriptive. It became too much of a narrative
Yeah.
to the life I was trying to play out,
Yeah.
and it really played out. And
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
but then at the same time, now even now when we're rehearsing together and for this upcoming tour, and you know, some of the older songs, of course, when you do, they change their meaning as well. We were doing In Your Room now.
Amazing.
That song for me has always represented something. In the beginning, very dark time.
Yeah.
Doesn't anymore. It's full of light for me. It's a beautiful, when I sing the song and when I get it right, and everything's in the pocket and Martin's playing, and I just, it's like I'm walking on air. It's different to what it was when the song was out, and when at the particular time I remember making the video and everything. And,
Back then, you were just thinking like in your room.
I wanted to get back in my room. I wanted to get back in
603
my
at the
little
Crown
room.
at the Crown Plaza in Leeds.
No, it was a little blue closet in my house that I wanted to get back into and shut the door and light a candle and stay there all day.
And stay there all day. Yeah. This album to me can unlock so much going forward from a live show perspective, because like I said, there's so many different tempos and moods. I think about a song like "Don't Say You Love Me." There's a classic Depeche Mode moment of moving into a tempo and a rhythm and a feel that only you can do and stay Depeche Mode without people thinking, oh, they've gone fucking full waltz here. Do you know what I mean? It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it's very Scott Walker. I mean, it's all a bit...
Scott Walker.
And to me, it's this beautiful torture. I love those kind of songs.
I love that song.
I mean, it's like, in a movie or something. Martin wrote the song with Richard.
With who?
With Richard Butler.
What, from Suede?
No.
Psychedelic Furs. Oh my God. Fucking Mirror Moves. Mr. fucking Mirror Moves. Are you serious?
I wrote 4 of the songs on the album with Richard.
That's amazing.
Which is something I've never done before. Worked with somebody outside the band.
Apart from me.
You're in the band.
Yeah, true. You're in the band. By the way,
you're in the band.
Dave, did you hear that? Did you hear that? You're finally in the band, baby.
Yes. I'm accepted.
Finally. I can drop
It's
one
so
for that.
sad.
He did it. He made the band.
It's so sad. 40-odd years, and I finally feel accepted.
Oh my God. Longest audition in pop music history. So why did you decide to do that, and why did you decide to work with Richard Butler?
He reached out to me, I think it was around April 2020, the pandemic had hit, and he just texted and said, we should write some songs together.
Wow, I love that.
And he actually said that to me once before, like I don't know when it was, like 10 years ago or something, and nothing ever came of it. But, we were in the pandemic. I thought, if I'm going to try and do something different, now's a good time to experiment.
Yeah.
So we did. We just started writing songs together, and we ended up writing 6 that I really liked, and I thought it would be a waste to use them as a side project.
Yeah.
Because me and Richard could have just made an album together.
Yeah.
I written another few, and put it out as an album. But I think they would have just been lost.
Yeah.
And so I called him and I said, this might sound a bit crazy. I said, well, what do you think about me using the songs for Depeche? And he said, yeah, I love Depeche.
Yeah. And also...
Well, otherwise it would have been psychedelic modes, I think. I was like,
That's good. That's good. You still got it.
You still
That's
got
good.
that.
You still got it. Yeah, but I don't want to speak for someone like that who's given us great joy throughout our lives as well. But maybe I think that might have been the answer.
I think it was
looking for.
I didn't know this, you see, and I didn't know this immediately. I knew Martin had been writing with Richard during the pandemic. I knew they'd been writing together, but when Martin first sent me a few songs, I think maybe Caroline's Monkey was one of those. I don't know if Ghosts Again was one of the first ones.
I think I must have sent that was one of the first ones, surely. That was.
But when I heard that song in particular, Ghosts Again, I first of all I was like, okay, I'm in. This is it made me feel instant joy. The demo. I felt like I remember dancing around my living room and my daughter sort of coming in and she was like looking at me weird, like, what's going on? I was like, don't you love this? This is just, doesn't it? She kind of was like, started bopping along with me and she was like, no, I get it. It's a really good song.
And Martin, when you send that song to Dave, do you know at this point that something's got to connect with Dave? This isn't a given.
It's always, one of those kind of like tough moments when you have to present your songs for the first time. Like to
really
Dave.
hard.
Now, I would have been presenting them to Andy as well, obviously, but obviously, Andy passed away just like literally days before I was about to send him the songs.
Unfortunately, he never got to hear anything.
That's one of the very sad parts about it because he used to love getting the songs.
It's funny, life is just I've learned this myself in recent years. Life has other ideas, and we live in this very short period of time in our youth where we think we can control it, and it's really
invincible,
and it's an important part of the journey. And then eventually things come along, and you got to stick and move and adapt to move forward. I was really sorry to hear about Fletch.
Thank you.
Yes,
Really
thank you,
beloved
yeah.
member of the band, and someone who I hold in the same regard as the two of you and Alan, in terms of the history of the band and what you've given.
Full respect to Al, but Fletch was,
Yeah.
we were there from the beginning together, fighting over bus fare.
Yeah.
It's like, from the rehearsals
Yeah.
in the church home,
Facts.
it's like
Facts.
that pretty much remained the same. But
Yeah.
it's hard to describe what that means when there's a group of people like on paper shouldn't really be able to get on together or something, but somehow coming together, that's what makes something what it is. No matter what, who does what. I mean, certainly in Depeche Mode, because it's always unidentified, really, who does what.
Yeah.
In some ways.
Yeah.
But everybody had a part and has a part in what that is, whatever group you form around what is the nucleus of the so-called band.
So can we help fans like myself to understand with a little more definition the role that Fletch played through those years? Because we've talked about the letting go of the writing and the challenges of having to let others in, which now has you co-writing with people who aren't even in Depeche Mode. We've talked about the challenges of finding your voice alongside somebody who has such a defined and strong songwriting voice. And the two of you have wrestled through that and find yourselves in life now working well together, and you're achieving those goals. But I think of Fletch as somebody who is as equal a member of that band, and yet I never heard a Fletch song that I was aware of, and I never heard Fletch out front singing songs like you. So what kept him engaged, and what do you think from his perspective was his ultimate place in the band?
Well, I think Dave said this recently, that he was the band's biggest fan, and believe it or not, I honestly believe that he enjoyed being in Depeche Mode more than me or Dave.
Absolutely.
I mean,
that.
He was the champion of the band.
I remember when I moved to Santa Barbara, I'd been living there for 3 months or so, and I'd met an English friend who ran a bar, and it took me ages. Eventually he said to me, "Oh, what do you do, by the way?" And I told him. And
Drinking at the bar.
Yeah.
How can you be here at 1 p.m. every weekday and not have a job?
It was like called the King's Head or something like that.
Old King's Road.
The Old King's Road.
What, in Santa Barbara?
Yeah,
That's fucking amazing.
He found in Paradise a little bar called the Old King's Road with an English bloke selling him beer.
But so it took me maybe 3 months or so to let him know what I did, and then we were recording Exciter there.
Yeah.
And so the rest of the band came to town, and Andy went into the bar for a drink, and he said my friend said it was so weird. He said it took me so long to find out what you did. He said, Andy told me after about a minute.
Yeah, do you know what?
Because he was so proud of what he did. He was proud of what he did.
That was first and foremost beyond anything else. He would be that guy in the bar telling you what we're doing, how we're doing it, what's going on, talk.
No, but he was very sociable, and that was a very important thing for us in the band. I mean,
we're not.
We're not really.
Not like him, at least.
No. I mean, he was
you guys
a
are more
larger than life.
speakeasy. You're more like after hours, and he's more like opening hours, right?
Yeah. And then he's done when the bar's closed. But we're not.
You're not. That's when you guys come alive, right? Let's get 70% of these people out of here, and then I'm going to really have a good time. Yeah. And so the adjustment process, I can imagine, was enormous from a personal level. It couldn't be anything else but the idea of coming together.
It still happens. I mean, it's going to be a continuous. I think we get to actually miss Fletch, and grieve him through the process of certainly making the record, because his presence was there, I know that sounds weird, but it was. And it continues. When we're rehearsing now and when we're doing things, we've been out on a promo trip for a while and doing things, everything that we do without Fletch is a first.
Oh yeah, that's facts. Everything you do from now on is first.
It's
The
different.
first show is going to be kind of,
Yeah.
hopefully not, too much. It could be like weird for us, being there with the audience for the first time.
But don't you feel equipped now through all of the writing and through all of the life, more equipped to be able to just go with that if that's the case?
You're never really equipped. There's nothing prepares you for what that is when you finally walk on a stage anyway, whether it was with me and Martin and Fletch and Pete and Christian, and now it's just the four of us, because it is otherworldly what you do anyway when you go on a stage and you sing and perform music and everybody feels a part of that. It's a moment in time.
Yeah.
So that in itself is strange, but we're going to have to, it's not going to be easy. It's going to be something that we think about all the time.